Hey gang, Jeff Stone here with day 69 of the year 2015 at magicreviewed.com. We're looking at game today, and you're also probably looking at this today. I told you yesterday that my daughter scratched my nose right there, and so now it's a little bit worse than it was yesterday, so maybe tomorrow I'm going to wear makeup. But today, too bad, just stare right there. And when you're done, you will be hypnotized. Anyway, game by Jermay. Maybe I'll just hold it like this the whole time. Anyway, so what you're getting, go watch the ad trailer and see the effect, and I'll give you a brief overview. But the effect is you start off with 4 face-down cards, and you say that they're hands from 4 of the 5 cards from a poker hand. And then you have the spectator shuffle up the deck completely. It's a fair shuffle. There's no guiding them to shuffle a certain way. They can throw them in a paper bag and shake them up. They can do whatever they want. Shuffle up the cards, and then they cut the cards or whatever, and then a card is dealt to you, and that one card that is dealt to you and it's a fair, not a trick deal or anything like that, and it's a normal deck that's it's not like all the same card or anything like that. In fact, you can do it with a borrowed deck. Anyway, so the card that is dealt, it completes the royal flush, which is what the other cards were that you showed, the other 4 cards. So that's the effect. Now, the method is actually given in the ad copy, or at least part of the method, and that is Vernon's The Trick That Cannot Be Explained, or The Trick That Can't Be Explained. So if you're familiar with The Trick That Can't Be Explained, you'll understand why it's going to be very difficult for me to explain it to you. First of all, with the original Trick That Can't Be Explained, the effect was always the same, that you predict the outcome of a series of events, and it's, you predict a card. And so if you've seen it, that's always what the effect is. A lot of times people will do it where they'll put aside a card, and let's say they put aside face down the 4 of hearts. Well, eventually the spectator will have then chosen the 4 diamonds and it's the matching red 4. So that's typically how I've seen The Trick That Can't Be Explained done. But the bottom line is it's a prediction, and if somebody were to watch The Trick That Can't Be Explained done 5 times in a row, they would see that the effect is always the same, but the presentation is often very different. Not a good thing or a bad thing, it's just an indifferent thing, and that's just the nature of the method. But it's hard enough to explain The Trick That Can't Be Explained when you don't care about exposing the method, because you're reading it in the book and you're learning the trick. But right now in this video, I do care about exposing the method, and I don't want to expose too much here, and so it's going to be really hard for me to explain the trick that can't be explained. What Jermay has done, however, is, I would dare say, a major improvement on the method of The Trick That Can't Be Explained. So much so that it's almost unrecognizable from the original, and it is a different effect. It's still a prediction, but it's in a different way. And what he's added several things, and I'm not going to tell you what any of them are, because then I would be giving away too much. But he's added several little things that make this effect so much more deceptive, and just layer upon layer upon layer of added deceptiveness. So much so that if you saw the ad trailer, you saw how fair that was. If you were to see him perform it 5 times in a row, the outcome would be the same, that a prediction of the final card in a royal flush would be found still, but the presentation would look a little bit different. However, you might think, well, that one was just so perfect in the ad trailer that they staged it. And the reality is they didn't. What he's done is come up with a concept that's added to the Vernon thing that makes it to where you're... I don't know if I want to use the word hits, because that might scare you off, thinking that there's going to be misses, and there really aren't misses. But that makes it to where your hits are, the odds are overwhelmingly in your favor that you'll get the kind of hit, the kind of presentation you want. And let me just say this, there is no bad scenario in the way that Jermay has put this thing together. There is no scenario that it just doesn't look clean and it's muddied and that kind of stuff. There is nothing like that. You know, in the Vernon one, there was things like spelling a person's name and you know, counting down to a certain number sometimes, you know. Maybe they turned over a 5 and you say, okay, now count down 5. There's none of that kind of stuff in this Jermay version. It always ends up with, you know, dealing out cards like he did, and you get the card that you need to complete your royal flush. It always ends up like that. It's always very, the effect is very, very clean. And so if you were to see that 5 times in a row, the presentations would still look different, but they would be so similar. And whereas with the original Vernon thing, you see that 5 different times, they might be so dissimilar that you would think you saw 5 different tricks. In this particular case, if you saw 5 in a row, it wouldn't be 5 different tricks. It would be the same trick 5 times with slightly different things in the presentation and a little bit different in some of the way the procedure works. But all of the cases, every single case, it is as clear and as clean and as powerful as what you saw in the ad trailer. Hopefully that probably did not clear anything up, because it's something that's hard to explain. Anyway, the other thing to consider is the prediction cards that you have. Those are cards that you have to have with you. They're not part of the deck. And so if you're going to do this trick, you're going to need to have those, you know, in your wallet or in your pocket or whatever. And then you can do this with a borrowed deck. Now, the one you saw in the ad trailer was not done with a borrowed deck. It was done with Luke Jermay's deck. And there's a couple of advantages of having it done with your own deck, but not enough for me to say that the borrowed deck version is bad. Because the borrowed deck version, in fact, that's the Vernon version, not the Vernon version, but Vernon's original thing could be done with a borrowed deck, and it was done face up. And that is the difference. Am I rambling, guys? I'm sorry. I know I'm all over the place because this is hard to explain. Anyway, so let's back up. Doing the Jermay thing. If you use a borrowed deck, then you'll be spreading the cards face up and showing how mixed up they are as part of the presentation. With the face down version, which can be done if you're using your own deck, you'll do it face down and you won't need to spread face up. So the difference between a borrowed deck and your own deck is borrowed deck, you got to do things face up. Some things, not all things. And with your deck, you've got to do it face down. You get to do it face down. So now, obviously, were I to do this effect, I would prefer using my own deck because it's face down. But if I were in a situation where I didn't have a deck of cards and I wanted to do this effect, I would have no problem using the borrowed deck method. Not at all. So that's the basic idea. Like I said, the cards play a part in the method, and there's all these other different little things that he's added to this procedure, this concept, the Vernon concept, that just make this thing so deceptive and so much better, in my opinion. And so now, just understand this too. This is not the kind of thing. Well, this is the way Jermay has modified it. It only works in the context of finding a card that will complete the other 4 cards that you have, that will complete a set like that. It doesn't work if you were wanting to just predict. So if you were just going to do essentially the old Vernon effect, it doesn't quite work the same as if you oh man, this is one of those things where I'm going to expose if I'm not careful. I'll just leave it at that. That this version, with the Jermay version, it only works in the context of it being a 5th card of a set that you're predicting. In the case of the presentation you saw, Royal Flush. I'll leave it at that. Okay. So hopefully that makes some sense, and you got a sense of what you're getting here. And so the DVD is $30, and that all you're getting is that trick. Now, that is a trick. That is a concept that is hard to explain, even when you're not worried about protecting the method. And so Luke Jermay was smart. He brought on somebody on the video, it was John Archer, but he brought on another person so that they could sit there and talk and discuss the method and walk through scenarios and walk through how you deal with it and how you work it and how everything works. And you'd be surprised how how accurate, we'll call it, this thing is. I know that's kind of vague, and if you know the Vernon thing, then you might have a better sense of what I'm talking about here. With the Vernon thing, the procedures sometimes get, you can have sort of a bad spread, if you will, but with this you won't. You never will. Even the worst one is still really, really good, and so it's very, very well explained on the DVD, and they walk through all the different scenarios. Oh, well, it's impossible to walk through all, but they walk through the concept so well, and they talk about it, and they discuss it together so well that I guarantee you'll learn the concept and you'll understand it, and you'll be able to do the effect after watching it. So, if you don't mind, number one, that you'll have to carry around those 4 cards to do the effect, the little packet of cards, you need to carry those around. And you have to do a little thing to them, a one-time thing to make them be part of the effect, and then you're done. You just keep them in your pocket or whatever. So if you don't mind that, and you don't mind improvisational sort of jazz presentations where you have to be quick on your feet and thinking during the presentation, then if you don't mind those 2 things, get this. Assuming you like the effect, of course. If you don't like the effect, then who cares? But who cares about the method and everything? But if you do like the effect and those 2 pieces, that you don't mind carrying the 4 cards around, and you don't mind the jazz-ish nature of the presentation, then you'll love this. The only question you got to ask yourself, is it worth $30 to be able to do that effect? So I gave it 4.5 star stone status of gem. There you have it, folks. Now it's time to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it out to your social networks and medias and feeds and whatnot. While you do that, listen to the random iTunes song of the moment, which today happens to be We're Not Gonna Take It, Twisted Sister. Gotta love that. Oh yeah, gotta love them. Anyway, tune in tomorrow, guys. Day 70. Yes, I have no Twisted Sister trivia for you that I haven't already shared. So, D. Snyder's crazy. There's some Twisted Sister trivia. Anyway, day 70 tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll be doing the Meridian technique tomorrow. There's 2 discs. I've already watched the first one, but there's still about an hour and a half to go. I'm going to try to watch it tonight, so that way I don't have to worry about watching it tomorrow, before the review. So hopefully tomorrow all I have to do is write the review and make the video. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Peace out.